On June 8, 793, longships emerged from the North Sea mist and beached on a small island off the coast of northern England. The men who stepped ashore carried axes and swords. They had no respect for the cross. Within hours, one of the holiest monasteries in the Christian world lay in ruins, its monks slaughtered, its treasures stolen, its sacred ground soaked in blood. The scholar Alcuin, writing from the court of Charlemagne, could barely find words for what had happened. No one in living memory had seen anything like it. No one understood yet that this was not the end of something. It was the beginning. Before we begin, this video uses artificial intelligence tools to visually reconstruct what these places and moments may have looked like. AI allows us to step inside vanished worlds and see landscapes no camera ever recorded. Some visual details may contain inaccuracies, but every word of the script is human researched and fact-checked. Now, let us enter the Viking Age. The island was Lindisfarne, home to the relics of St. Cuthbert, a centre of Christian learning since 635. For the Norse raiders who attacked it, it was simply a wealthy target with no defences. In the years that followed, similar strikes hit Jarrow, Iona, and dozens of coastal monasteries across Britain and Ireland. The attackers were Norwegians, mostly, farmers and seafarers from the fjords, sailing directly across the North Sea in ships unlike anything Europe had seen, fast, shallow-drafted, able to land on any beach. They struck in summer, looted everything they could carry, and vanished before any army could respond. For nearly 50 years the raids remained seasonal, but the pattern was about to change. In 841, the Vikings stopped leaving. On the banks of the River Liffey in Ireland, Norse warriors established a permanent fortified camp, a long fort, on the site where Dublin Castle stands today, overlooking the dark tidal pool the Irish called Dublin. It was the first lasting Viking settlement in Western Europe. Dublin quickly grew into something the Norse world had never built before, a true town and soon the largest slave trading hub in the Western world. 4 years earlier, in 845, a Viking fleet had sailed up the Seine and forced the king of the Franks to pay nearly 3,000 kilos of gold and silver just to make them leave. The message was clear: these were no longer summer raiders. They were conquerors, settlers, and founders of kingdoms. In 865, everything escalated. A massive coalition of Scandinavian warriors, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle called them the Great Heathen Army, landed in East Anglia with a single purpose: to conquer England. Led by figures like Ivar the Boneless and Halfdan, the army swept north. Within 2 years, York had fallen and been renamed Jorvik, the first Viking kingdom on English soil. Then Northumbria collapsed, then East Anglia, then Mercia. Kingdom after kingdom fell like dominoes. By 876, only one Anglo-Saxon kingdom still stood: Wessex, under a young king named Alfred. In May 878, Alfred defeated the Vikings at the Battle of Edington. The treaty that followed split England in two, the south and west under Saxon law, the north and east under Danish control. That territory became known as the Danelaw. For the first time, Viking rule over English soil was written into law. While Danes and Norwegians carved up the west, Swedish Vikings looked in the opposite direction. They paddled south along the rivers of what is now Russia, the Volga, the Dnieper, dragging their boats overland between waterways, trading furs, honey, wax and slaves for Arab silver and Byzantine silk. These Scandinavians, known to the Slavs as the Rus, founded Novgorod, then Kiev, building the foundations of what would become the first Russian state. Their trade routes stretched from the Baltic Sea to Baghdad and Constantinople. Tens of thousands of Arabic silver coins have been found buried in Scandinavian soil, proof of a commercial network spanning half the known world. Some of these Eastern warriors stayed in Constantinople permanently, forming the Varangian Guard, an elite unit of Norse mercenaries who served as the personal bodyguards of the Byzantine emperor. They were among the most feared soldiers in the medieval world. If you are finding value in this journey through history, you can support this channel by joining as a member. It would mean a lot for its development and help us continue bringing lost worlds back to life. The Vikings never forgot France. In November 885, hundreds of Norse longships sailed up the Seine toward Paris. The siege lasted nearly a year. The Parisians held, defended by Count Odo and the city's fortified bridges. But the Frankish king, Charles the Fat, chose to pay the Vikings £700 of silver rather than fight. The humiliation cost him his throne, but the real turning point came in 911. After decades of raids along the Seine, the Frankish king, Charles the Simple, offered a deal to a powerful Norse chieftain named Rollo, a vast territory around Rouen, in exchange for conversion to Christianity and a promise to defend the region against other Vikings. Rollo accepted. That territory became Normandy, the land of the Northmen. 5 generations later, Rollo's descendant William would cross the English Channel and conquer England. The Norse did not only conquer, they explored. Starting around 870, Norwegian settlers began colonizing Iceland, a volcanic island in the middle of the North Atlantic where no one had lived before. Within decades they had built farms, established trade, and created the Althing, one of the oldest parliamentary assemblies in the world. Around 982, a man named Eric, called the Red for his hair and his temper, was exiled from Iceland for killing his neighbours. He sailed west and found Greenland, naming it shrewdly to attract settlers. He founded a colony that would survive for over 3 centuries. Then, around the year 1000, Eric's son Leif sailed further still, west beyond Greenland, and reached a land he called Vinland. He built a settlement at what is now Newfoundland, Canada. The Vikings had reached North America, 500 years before Columbus ever left Spain. By the turn of the millennium, the Viking footprint covered half the known world, from Dublin to Kiev, from Normandy to Newfoundland, from the markets of Baghdad to the halls of Constantinople. Norsemen had raided, traded, settled, and built. They founded cities that still exist. They opened trade routes that reshaped economies. They forced kingdoms to unite in self-defense, accelerating the birth of nations like England and France. Yet even as the Viking world reached its greatest extent, it was already transforming. Christianity was spreading through Scandinavia. Iceland converted around the year 1000. The old gods were fading, the raiders were becoming kings, the pirates were becoming merchants, and the Norse colonies were blending into the cultures around them. The age of the longship was ending, but what the Vikings built would endure for centuries, and the world they left behind would never be the same.